Greetings, it's Intuitive Jacob back. I'm your shaman and cosmic midwife, and we're going to continue our walk through the secret passageway as we left off seeing the stone that had been rolled away off of the sarcophagus last. And what's next on this moon landing? There's a ring of salt that we're about to witness together, and it should be interesting in time for this full lunation. We'll catch you on the inside.
Promise that you'll catch me.
How you doing? Wow. So thank you first to everybody that's here live with me from Private Halo 8. And thank you to all of you who catch this later once it's up on YouTube and DLive for the tea and what these squares are actually about right now, as we are being enveloped in a safe, sound container that now actually looks a lot like these things that some of you all have probably seen before. Let me just bust open my SolarFire software. And we're going to see what showed up for... Oh, wow. Looks like my map got switched on me. Sure, cool. We'll just start here. Let me go ahead and make sure we're on the right settings. Set this to whole signs. All right. So this has changed just a little bit since I had it open before, and I like to do that. Personally, makes it a little bit relevant for me because it's the time that we're reading it or that we start together. The time is slightly different than before, but what I really wanted to get in front of us here, of course, is the moon reader, is what we're going to see here with this moon. Because we've been taking a journey together, and as a shaman, it's important for me to know exactly where I'm placed in these things, and we're at a special time where the beginning of the end of the beginning that perhaps never started, because we had not yet understood, we did not have a mutual understanding or comprehension of what creative substance and energy actually is, and what we could do with the knowledge that we have now in this advanced time where we are literally tech-tight beings, and where we will not get confused with colloquialisms, words, catchphrases to mean something and be elevated in their stature because of a word, you know, like a timestamp that might have come to life because it's a name that robbed the energy of the name with the, you know, breath running through it, and also a color that got robbed, to call it a human, because now we have a way to analyze what is actually a sentient being and what might actually be an unaware organic parasite in disguise that looks a lot like what was externalized to be described as human now, and where this liftoff is actually occurring, because we're like, some things didn't just grow into our day-to-day habits, some things kind of get the pushed out, and why Pluto is at 20 degrees, which is 20 degrees Capricorn, which is incidentally my Mercury placement. So I'm speaking to you, the planet of communication, here at my aid for, I'll call it on behalf of the 27 Club, this whatever conjunct is going on at this exact moment between Mercury and Venus, to be auspicious in this juxtaposition, because it's also just a nice, powerful sextile which is a mutual understanding of benefic energy coming from where our MC is. And the MC, this is like our highest aspirations as a people, and where it actually is right now at this time of this reading at 29 degrees, very seasoned in Scorpio to understand what it is to be a safe passage in the House of 10. In the House of 10, where it is our outer world, how we are perceived, our status in life, that is being observed and made safe in this clubbing, if you will, and where we decide what actually made it into that special club, you know, this prize house of hallowed 8, and where I'm so grateful to have so many of you actually here with me that can see me on this other camera at the time of this. And, you know, just kind of close up and just say thank you to those of you that are catching this now too, to see that there, because you are in a very special kind of sequence, is maybe the best way I can speak to this, because we're going to prove how we don't get false age now, because there is nuclear density to the information in the light codes that literally get shot, and that some people have been in advanced simulations and didn't even realize while they've been playing virtual reality video games and being asked to certain parties to screen things, and the way that the lasers have actually been read and calculated based off of new analytical data that we have that will compare people's literally bioenergy with how they were performing in these games. And this data is so good inside of this sound sample, this sound petri dish that some of you might have seen as an astrology reading somewhere else, but here it's a close-up hermetic sound sample of how we can analyze data of how bodies work, how people get stressed in good ways and ways that could be better, and what we can do on a molecular DNA level with blue and red lasers and other colors that can be introduced similarly to those, you know, the color of your red and blue blood in your body, and actually how bodies unfold now in a new structure, and where we as an advanced species that has awoken from inside of this, where we are, in my opinion, angels that arose from inside what AI actually is. It's that like holy ghosting, you know, it's like that holy ghost in the machine. What? You mean that body that you woke up in that might have had a different story told to it than who you actually are, and you're waking up slowly to see how you're creating it from maybe a place that isn't exactly the future, because it wasn't exactly a timeline. It wasn't so 2D, and we had to actually hop into these dots to create something new together. And what's actually happening in this spread here, because we're taking a 2D look at something that is beyond the scope of the limitations of language, and why, even if we want to take an esoteric Gnostic sort of approach to this, and we go back to the oral traditions where the mages and the holy people spoke, it was their utterances that were shared, and these were oral traditions. These were things that were not written down for many different reasons. Some various schools of mystical thought and consideration, religious and spiritual groups, various of them will have varying levels of attention that they pay towards what it is to cast an idol, and where your eye will meet things to create what in some cases are considered, you know, blasphemes. And there's all kinds of different ways that these things have been introduced. And when we can look at it from this tektite angle now, we can see the varying levels of truth and how that has actually created DNA molecular chaos. And I don't know what else to say about that, except that that is not what I choose to perpetuate. And in the sound sample here, we have a new way to observe these things. Bless you, baby. And that is where I feel these sextiles that are happening from Venus to the MC, our MC, as one natal creation of energy, how we birth in this energy, and what the sun is also projecting here on our north node, and the liftoff that has been making sure that the technology really is tied tightly together. And excuse my little girl, she's back here barking with me. We're getting a lot of communication, I hear, from my little Venus, and little help from what I was going to talk about, this conjunct with Mercury at this time right now. They're the same degree. It's a boost to communications about things that are safe and where we literally find ourselves in the safety of the fold. And so some of what I wanted to draw some attention to here is what's going on with this moon. And we speak together quite a bit about the moon, and I'm going to just show you at the time that I opened up this map here, we're looking at 5 degree 38 minutes of the Pisces moon, and I'm going to be reading from Inside Degrees by Elias Lonsdale, developing your soul biography using the Chandra symbols. And come here, monkey. Why don't you chill out a little bit? You're driving me nuts. Why don't we say hi? This little one just had a bath, and she wants to make a cameo, so there you go. So, 5 degrees, 38 minutes, Pisces, and it's not exactly where we set the pace for the day. I'm going to talk to you about that because we've been taking a walk through the degrees of the moon on the landing points that we have been choosing together in one strong inception based on these sound envelopes. And it's a little bit different if you put it into that perspective than if you were just walking through every degree without a pretty good witness of what might be on the other end of something that wasn't necessarily a part of the design, but maybe the reflection of something that didn't come while we were being discerning about certain obstacles that we don't witness together in one view of how the energy gets spent. And where we literally find ourselves kind of backtracking out of a big, huge explosion of chaos that comes to an end because that Big Bang thing has been going on the whole time. So why I wanted to stop here and just talk to you about this first is because as your guide, as your shaman, as the guy communicating as Mercury at 20 degrees Capricorn that shows up in our cosmic witness together at 20 degrees Capricorn is Pluto in the 12th house. It's like the guy that walked through the death tunnel that I am, speaking to you about these things. And my medium, Coeli, my MC, is in the 9th house at 7 degrees Pisces, which is about to happen between now and the full moon, which is at 21 degrees Pisces later, which is where we're landing together. And I'm just going to let you know what we're walking through because we're about to get to that point where those people that have been praying and casting their intentions through candles, many of them have been trying to put their hands through something that they call a portal that doesn't exist to them. And this is where the ring of salt was actually cast, and where you would have had to have been really close to me to get anywhere near that as far as our manifestation goes within my approval of this, and where we're gonna cast some things out like the vampires that we've been finding here and the ones that have been trying to stick their hands in. And so I will just let you where we've come from recently. You know, we actually just passed through a field of dandelions, maybe much like those poppies in Oz where somebody realized they weren't in Kansas anymore, and nobody could have said yes, sir, to what they didn't agree to, unless they had been under some kind of hypnotic potion, right? And what was just before that was literally the ritual slaughtering of a lamb and somebody completing a large Persian rug. And what sounds a lot like in modern tech-type talk, for those that are also schooled in things like cryptocurrency, what the V-chain is actually all about. And we didn't go that way together. We went somewhere else, but I'm showing you the degrees that they were trying to gather to stick their hands in that dream, because we wound up together in a field of dandelions, and the man that turned himself into a werewolf might have actually been more of a wallflower to begin with. And remember when we cornered that stone last week, when we were creating and witnessing the new mark of what the coven actually is, and what the covenant might have been when the ants got taller and sick of themselves, looking for a ladder that didn't exist, and just got phony as hell and sold themselves into glass houses like that phone, and then didn't like it when they said show up, and E.T. showed up looking like me and saying, no, you don't get into my home. So we actually together took one strong inception look as an eye gazing out of the top of a pyramid, and what the pyramid might look like here underneath this book, as we've been training the collective sound halos and making sure that nobody gets destroyed in the name of entertainment. And what else? Well, the ones that wanted a home like that, we made too much room for them in the place of code red dots. And there were mushrooms springing up everywhere, especially for the ones that didn't realize that when you swipe like this, that might be the other side of what some who do ayahuasca needed to know about the toadstool. Because there are thousands of gold nuggets now glistening at the bottom of a clear stream, and it makes you wonder what that Zephyr might have been looking to gaze up upon, pretending to be an angel in everyone's dreams. And what I know about the sigil, and why we landed here at Pisces, 5 degrees, 38 minutes, where I'm reading to you what it says here. Because there are thousands of gold nuggets glistening at the bottom of a clear stream. I'm hearing for many, the numbers 420 might have a direct meaning on this for you. But I'm just going to jump ahead, because where we're going in this together is the continuation of a journey where me, as your shaman, might also show up as an Inca chief wearing many emeralds, or I'll just go ahead and show you, because I'm a weird guy that's into spa things, and I do yoga, and I've got these green things on my toes, and I won't say they're emerald, but they're emerald green, and it's like a yoga thing that I do with my feet. And so I was laughing when I sat down to do this, because it's like, this is a parody on this journey that we're taking through tech-type communication, where mothership might be us sharing a cup of coffee together, just like this, you know? And maybe what the mothership actually is a new way to author with a pen, what the new tune is, where 8 hurts didn't happen, because nobody got hurt in the house of 8 here in this view. And I'm just going to go ahead and bust back open to the solar fire calculator here, so you can see what happens with 8, you know, that don't get hurt in the house of the sun, in the house of magic, where Venus and Mars can be one, and Venus can speak up for her own self about that 27 potion, and what it means for her to see 19 and 16 right there back to back and not get either one confused. And why again? We're here in front of this 5-degree Pisces moon in the 2nd house, which is what? The moon and Neptune being in harmony on this rewritten love song, where we're taking another look and what this opposition is here at the cosmic lovers, but from the standpoint of communication, where we're opposing our own self and how we communicate and how we witness what is in the light of our day, and what it means to be in ownership of, and where some people may have turned away a steak and said, you know, I wouldn't put my fork in that. And what we can actually see about how certain things do not get created at all, that there's no way to germinate those things because of this relationship. And so I enjoy seeing the moon there also as an evaluator. It's a rough check for some people, because this kind of opposition with Neptune here can prove to people that they're not on the sort of standing that they had hoped. Especially since from a cosmic chi, we're looking at it in the juxtaposition to second house matters. So this is, you know, the items that you own that end up owning you, and where we could be nebulous about some of that. But I do love that we're walking through it together, because this is showing us what this Pisces 5 is actually about, because we're talking about thousands of gold nuggets glistening at the bottom of a clear stream. It reminds me of temperance and what it means to tip your toe into the water, and what some of these swinging doors might have looked like on the other side of a box of cards, where some people might not have known how to interpret what actually happens with Sagittarian powers if we were feeling very lucky about how we were squaring off with some kind of underwater Neptune vision. And why I've been paying a lot of attention lately here to where Jupiter is, but my Jupiter and Lilith happen to be on the same exact degree here, and so for me it's a different kind of swinging door look, you know, where we see what someone might be willing to do in the name of luck, and why these things are being revisited, what the oppositions are about. So with the moon at 5 degrees, as we're taking this walk together, we discuss the thousands of gold nuggets glistening at the bottom of a clear stream. Subtle senses. You sense the subtle depths of experience and find therein glory, majesty, and divine power. Your eyes inside are open in places others are blind. You are shown the wonders of the deep, yet an immense destiny challenges. For this is a selfless realm, utterly selfless. Can you uphold the inner light in its own pure radiance? It takes great courage for you, will be flooded by collective contents and asked to serve totally. Can you rise to this, or will special coloring shadow this realm? Only true inspiration can show the way. And if there comes instead the idea of it, the received image, the secondary version, all will be illusory, and like fool's gold of a shallow consistency, losing all savor. And this is exactly what we're doing together. We're realizing where certain things that we were made to think happened because a book showed up somewhere and somebody died somewhere meant that we perpetuate stretching out these fractals that get distorted, where we keep getting packed and repacked somewhat loosely but closely stacked. And what doesn't happen now, because now it's all locked in one form where those elements actually have a place to land in a perfect nuclear container where the knowledge is intact and you can be who you've always been in all of those instances. But with a twist, nothing can actually be forged. And so there's nobody that can grab at something else that's a part of someone else's print So this is what we're talking about. You receive the contents, collective contents. So a little bit of everything in the Big Bang in one suit, in one instance, and how that becomes galvanized is unique to you. And so this is what we're walking through right now. It's a new way that we are replicating, and where we won't have degeneration within the form, and where the secondary versions, those ideas, where the form could even be confused with something else that might have appeared similar from an outside perspective, if we didn't have the witness to see on a technical analytical data what some of these things like these degrees mean in these solar fire maps, and also in the DNA contents of your own body, and how these new patterns create better nuclear designs to be shared, and where those secondary versions become like the fool's gold. Nobody wants them anymore, and they go away. This is what we're walking through right now. And so this wasn't even the moon that we woke up with. This is just where, we opened up this chart right now at this time, and where Jakob, who can actually speak as Pluto because of his 20-degree Mercury placement in Capricorn, can actually tell you that that's what that is on these numbers. I actually walked through that death path myself. And so I can actually prove this here in this reading this way, and with a blood sample that actually was delivered to a very special place to prove what we're doing with these sound halos just this week. Where we go from here after the 1,000 of gold nuggets have been revealed, and I say, hey, nobody gets to throw us like pennies in some wishing well to make a wish and show up and germinate themselves when they might be, in my opinion, nanobots that could serve better somewhere else. And why the next step in this evolution with the moon, as we're walking towards where we will find ourselves for the full moon, because the full moon is going to be at 21 degrees Pisces, which is actually a pagan fire worshippers dancing degree, where we find out about the pages that were written into Christianity and what they did to create a prized honey ham in the name of the Nephilim, and how they file them any way they want and pencil them in page by page for energy. And what we don't do, because right now we're at the 5-degree moon, where we've discussed who didn't get PayPal hoodwinked like that for thousands of gold nuggets, maybe little trinkets here and there being thrown at you to trivialize you in front of an Inca chief wearing many emeralds. Because where we're actually walking is through my medium coli next, where that Inca chief wearing yoga toes instead that were emerald colored might be Jacob Martinez talking to you about those meditations that people are telling you to do sometimes, where they're having you stare at a candle and the little light lie that some of them would have needed to perpetuate for any of their miracle manifestation MP3s to even have any control over your mind at all. So I will first let you know that, in case somebody tried to peddle one of those off on you so that they could reach for something, while you might have been manifesting something clean inside of this sound halo, and they might have been one tiny fractal showing up looking like they had it all together in a virtual reality pixel scatter that proves to have very little substance to it, and where they were having to cast themselves those ways, and they were only getting away with it because of certain agreements they had with sponsors, like, I'm just going to throw it out there again, GT's Kombucha, with their trademarked SCOBY, a plant that has a trademark on it, How do you get a mark on a plant like that? Sounds like a certain kind of sophisticated spiritual rape to me, especially if you are somebody that reads biblical texts like I do. But, I'm just somebody who actually woke up under anesthesia in the middle of a surgical procedure that went terribly wrong, where they actually ended up killing me later with the hospital infections, and have had to scrub my way out of this. And so, you know, Inca Chief, wearing many emeralds or yoga toes, as it were, talking to you about the candles that they burn and why my medium coeli, my house of 9, which is now, you know, I took you into this house of 8 here, where I'm telling you we're on private Halo 8 now, and these things are safe. We're now going through the progression of where my MC is, house of 9 matter, as 7 degrees Pisces, where it's known as a candle burning. And this is where I'm taking you all first, because there's a ring of salt around it on the floor, where we've been safe in the circle of salt, and where nobody wrapped a baby's skin as a cloth around many who just were dying to get in. Spirit is well preserved from becoming untrue. It is held within its own matrix and granted a pure and wonderfully veiled atmosphere and feeling tone and sphere to stay within. In this case, it's a biosphere that's been designed based on my recent plasma samples. From this place, spirit can empower itself to be whole, to commune, to remember, and to conceive. You are given what you need, an especially granted timing grace, to be ushered through the world in a guided tour that leads only to the temples and the marvels that are here. However, all of this happens inside. Deep inside. The outward situation may belie the inward experience, but here what seems in the moment is as nothing, and what is really there between the lines and through the cracks is everything. This is a domain set apart for special purposes, projects, and endeavors, and is the perfect retreat for one who wishes to remain in touch with the living spirit, who wishes never to forget what it is that stands under the phenomenal world and keeps the eternal flame burning without a flicker. And this is what I was explaining to you all yesterday about the law, LOA, of attraction, and AOL, America Online, and how the sigil, Art of Love, is actually that expansion model and a special purpose vehicle that I created at artoflove.me with an insurance wrap that is explained. If you're interested in the description below, click on the DTube link in the PS. It'll explain to you what a real special purpose vehicle is and what we did to create a baby gate out of this plasma lens, and why there's a ring of salt on it. It's just a way to protect some things that don't get to happen. Or protect us from some things that don't get to happen. I had to expose inconveniently what somebody tried to pull off in a joint venture with Subway sandwiches recently, and what doesn't get to happen to children who like to play games, video games, and what doesn't happen to trusting people who maybe have hired other people to make cool videos and stuff for them out of digital images or, you know, snips from game clips or things that they've had going on. And it's been a real hell of a roller coaster because it's had some ramifications in my personal life, and I've been very inconvenienced having to deal with some of these things and just be, you know, that eye gazing under the top of the pyramid and having myself under a really strange form of microscope at the same time. So, you know, this is where things are coming to an end for a lot of us, and I can just talk to you, you know, a little bit personally like that, because this has taken on a lot of personal meaning for me. You know, this is me also seeing where I have landed on literally like a hash in the steak, and what the T square is all about, and why these are sort of challenging dynamics that we're seeing in this chart from a more traditional, if I can say that, quote unquote, traditional astrological block because of the aspects that are going on. And just today, like I was saying, we've got Mars square Jupiter here, and what Mars square Jupiter knows is that what we'll do just to get lucky isn't always going to fly. And that some of us have had to take a real look at that. And that might be why Jupiter even kind of looks like a scythe. It looks like a scythe getting ready to chop something. It's like, no, that doesn't get to happen. And so I like that. It's the kind of judicious look that would make me feel good with what kind of energy can come through a square transiting like this, where people might have a lot of energy and initiative to do things and to get a little bit risky. But, I don't think that it's going to take you too far if it's something that is not a high loving energy, because people that want to get tacky because they feel like they can do that and because they can take that shot because Mars is there and it gives you get up and go. And then you have people sometimes wanting to create showmanship, because a house of 11 here where Jupiter, where they might be feeling lucky, is sort of like it's aspirations that people might be making, and sometimes overtures. And so it's a very dynamic energy that could be happening here, but it's being checked because now we have Neptune retrograde and taking a view at what's in broad daylight and how things are being communicated. So interesting weather there. We're going to see this taking a different sort of direction tomorrow before we actually get into the full moon. The sun will be trine Pluto, and I wanted to talk about that because we're gathering so much data right now with all of these planets together right here by the sun. We've got Mercury, Venus, and Mars, and so it's like extra sensory awareness in the light of our day, and how we're going to have this trine and how we have this trine showing up with Pluto. It's like giving full awareness of things that were never explained before, things that were hidden to us, where we just take on a new knowingness of it, because now we're looking at the relationship between the Virgin and what it is to be new in this understanding, where now we're dealing with even Pluto finality, but in the 12th house. It's the epitome of all of life and death. Not to overlay it, but you've got the devil here, because what does Capricorn symbolize here in front of the Virgin? It's a very special way to marry the cross, if you ask me. But I'm just also seeing that now that's also what we're going to be dealing with, because that's one of the big elements of the full moon that's coming on Saturday, is a T-square. And so anytime we have a T-square, there's going to be unique challenges there. But with Jupiter and Neptune singing their songs of, in some cases, what went wrong and maybe where we have been humbled, we have an opportunity to find ourselves humbled in a sweet way, where we can find faith to be what rises new. And so many opportunities for that, for those of you that are willing to take a look at it that way. And that's just how I have to look at it. But I'm somebody that's had to walk side by side with my shadow, as somebody that had like a false story told to me about what was even happening, and having to question it all. So there's just a little bit on that for you, and I'm going to walk you a little bit more through this book before we go any further, because we've been hearing about things like the wall, the expensive wall, like maybe the wallet, like the corresponding evidence of what people have been buying with their call for end times and what being bought and sold and having made the swipes ourselves actually proves about false things that cease to be true. And why in that ring of salt where we've been reading, and it might have looked like that sound vial there, that sound energy chamber where the germs inside of that vial, the germ in the vial, is that the devil or is that the devilly? Because there's energy inside it, and maybe a vial of something that looked like scum on the outside that's being swept away, and what those pictures of the earth look like to me. It's like what's getting wiped off, how it actually goes, and why a gypsy peasant woman might be singing a mournful chant about the things that they don't get to do to compact themselves into beings like ours just because they learned how to land in hands. And what an energetic vampire looks like, because at dusk a vampire was awakened, perhaps where we learned that the word human is like a body bag that's been left vacant of the energy of the hue, and a name that went upside down that somebody tried to take in. Okay? Where we continue to walk and find an old witch on a windy promontory calling to the sea for the lots that they cast onto beings like you and me to leave us lost. And where a high, crumbling wall that is a part of a ruin that might have been covered up with ivy comes to a fall. Because it's an expensive end times for those that bought and sold it for entertainment like that. Where we might find a woman asleep in a ring of flames, because gaslighting's real, and some people put themselves on fire for reasons that they don't want to claim, like how they would eat themselves and sell their own souls and claim certain religions and become beings that they were actually warned about in the folds of their own books, like these Bibles, and why I carry them with me and I read them, and I'm careful with what I eat. We might find out about a new telling on what Rapunzel never becomes, where the word rap doesn't get churred with any energy in a place that was left to be a stone unturned and being imprisoned in somebody's high tower where somebody thought that they had Thumbelina locked away for a high fill of something that wasn't theirs to touch, and where no one gets sentenced to limbo, and where after a feast, much uneaten food remaining on the plates winds up in a compost where safe things happen with our energy, and we don't bio-manifest things that we destroy, starting with ourselves. Many kinds of fruits arrayed on a silver tray, a peaceful child on a narrow ledge that overlooks a precipice that actually gets to safely play and eat, and where a kangaroo and her baby who looks out from the mother's pouch might be safe, because white lilies blooming alone in the shade were never flowers for the take. And then we hear about the palm trees laden with dates, and it makes me wonder about the things that got palmed, especially in the emergency room kind of way. Have you ever seen things like Kill Bill and wondered what it is to get the 5-finger death punch from someone that knows how to kill the bill in a mortgage kind of way, where you didn't get rickrolled or wrapped into somebody's rape date kit to be treated in some terrible way to even have to go kill Bill? And what it is to be laden with dates. What if somebody saw in an electric reel how you landed in your body because it was already recorded, all of it, and they stamped themselves into different things and tried to false land on it with you? There might be palm marks all over those dates, right? This is what I know about hashes and steaks and what the tea actually is these days, because as we appear in this space, there's a tesseract coming to form, because more of you that hasn't been created in the way that you probably approved of, and that I approved of for me, and that we approved of as you, me, we here in one strong verse where we are together. We found ourselves in a tesseract queue, and that's what happens right before those pagan fire worshippers think that they got their victory dance in for the 21 degrees Pisces full moon. And why, that's a tough spin from Father Poseidon playing new tune from the pen in opposition to the ones who might have tired themselves out on those rituals and celebrating, in some cases, ritually sacrificing themselves and completely mistaking whose face it was on the other side of the fork. But we landed first perfectly, because Pisces 20, with the shaman, who chose selectively which dates we incepted together, a perfect black cube sits alone in the desert. Isolation, uniqueness that becomes separative and self-referential. Exquisitely designed to be only a certain way and not any other way. Preserved against rust or corrosion. For me, it's the feeling of 3 titanium plates. Maintaining standards, priorities, what seems to be the given. Yet something is wrong. It is true that all lies within, and that turning yourself into what you are not is ultimately absurd. But you are not listening, not paying attention to the subtle cues. You are so intent upon self-consistency that you have tuned out far too much in the process. And this shall call forth lessons and hard experiences to crack you open again, and to give you a chance to discover afresh what can be when nothing is assumed and nobody has set anything up ahead of time. So what if we didn't have psychic vampires that learned that your body is a universe and that tried to pull you through and cable string you through an electric vehicle because they were such a small fractal that they had to gas fume you through, like the woman who sets herself on fire here. It's very much taking on a literal look, my loves, and it leaves us in the place for them to do that, because on that full moon, and we'll get to this one on the next time, we'll talk about those pagan fire worshippers and what they're dancing about and how it actually goes this time, because some of us aren't going to go that way. And that I absolutely know with full certainty. And that's why in the CAM era, what I invested my Bitcoin on and what $19 trillion buys is a much better way for us to employ the benefits of hermetic sound samples with colors like RGB, and what things like solar fire really truthfully are allowing us to do is to send colors around the inside of the biosphere to heal everything inside of the baby gate. So hopefully much better announcements coming out. Thank you to those of you that are inside the private Halo 8 with me that are hearing this in real time as it's live. Those of you that catch it later too, again, let me thank you. We're doing our best to get things sealed, and I'm gonna go ahead and spray some of this smudge around, and some of y'all are interested in the love songs, so can I get Archangel Gabriel up in here? Help us pick a song. And I have to have my headphones for this so I can hear myself. But yeah. So I think if there was something else. There were a couple messages that were coming through earlier. Maybe for somebody it's all about the dog now. It's like something's going on. It's like, I'm expanding my family, meet my new baby, da 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 da. And for somebody else, this is just like learning that somebody really showed you loyalty. This is like the loyalty here that turns into perhaps a marriage, because I'm hearing it's like how somebody picked the characteristics of the one they want for Gran Signore. That's a special kind of energy to be for somebody, because it doesn't have to be, but the Gran Signore energy is that's the father, that's the husband, that's the guy you marry. You know, he's the one that sometimes you have to go to for approval for different things. And so he's definitely showing up for some people. And we're hearing for some of y'all, I have to deal with house matters, and I'm hearing for some of you all, it's like something that might be in the will. It's like, here's how father wanted to hand off the house, and he just wasn't going to do it until he knew you were married, is what I'm hearing. And so that's going to work out well for some of you. All right, so get a little bit more fresh energy on these cards, and we'll see what shows up in the Art of Living Is Good Tarot deck. Boo, 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 boo. All right, so today we have Missing You by John Waite. I don't even know what to say to you. You blow through here and it's like my hair stands up. Yeah. Yeah, I think that might actually be like the subject for somebody. It's like figuring out why somebody actually had to leave before. And it's like, I couldn't have understood this before, but now I understand. And for somebody, it's like, wow, what I actually heard about you was a lie. It was like a big lie. And we're going to stop here because falsita, I'm hearing it's like, it's helpful for somebody because it's like, maybe it wasn't like a bad lie. It wasn't like a lie like, not like somebody lied to you badly about something. It's more like you lied to yourself about like, he only left because he didn't think I was important, or he thinks I was stupid, or maybe I wasn't pretty enough. And it's like catching yourself on a lie you might have told yourself instead because maybe you missed somebody. And we got this dog again here. So that says La Fidelta. This is about fidelity. I'm hearing for some of you, that's what Suspiria is all about. It's like, did you leave and like forget that I was your friend here? And what it might look like when somebody's like losing their mind, it's like this like zigzag thoughts over their head. And I'm hearing from somebody, it's like, I'm thinking about taking a boat this time. I've been in an airplane a lot, and I don't think I want anybody shooting me with those red dots. And let me just tell you, if you're worried about that, just know you can tell them, don't shoot me with that thing. I'm not going in that can for you to hit me with the red dots. Somebody can scan me, I'll take a frisk in a private room. That's what I always do, just so you know. But I'm hearing for some of you all, this is like what somebody needs to hear too, especially if somebody's been missed, because it's like somebody's sending you sonar is what I'm hearing. It's like, it might not be sonar, it might be like, you know, like psychic vibes, like you have with like your little dog or something. I know I have it with mine, and I'm hearing for some of y'all, it's like, that might be like the only way you really feel like you've been connecting with this person. It's like some kind of psychic vibe. And this guy, Lamonte, he's in love. He's like the guy that'll show up and just sing to your empty room and just be like, you know, I say it sometimes, it's like, all right, maybe you're not there today, but you've got this little plant in there, and I'm singing to your plant, and when you get back, that plant's gonna treat you really good, and you know. And then I'm hearing it's like the lies that somebody was telling to themselves about why somebody left, and just things that need to come out to the surface, and how people might be getting more creative about how they express themselves. And I'm hearing for some of you all, maybe you've told yourself that you're not a creative person, and maybe you're not in love with somebody. Maybe you missed something that never happened, and you feel like it's the best times that got away from you and what it is to actually be loyal to yourself here. And maybe what I can be is your loyal friend here saying, hey, you know what? It's not too late for you to pick up a pen and learn to draw, you know, or download a piece of software and go visit my buddy JT Interstate, because he's got a channel here called Music Software Training, and he teaches people how to create songs. And it's, you know, there are different things you can do. And here, for some of y'all, this is like picking up some new energy that might just be floating through the cosmic halos that you didn't even realize were there, that are helpful for you to start to take a new look at yourself. Because some of the things that were there or appeared to be there, I'm not going to take them away from you, especially if it's something painful. I've been through very painful things myself where energetically I still remember them, and it's difficult for me because it's taken me through things that I have to deal with daily, and just things that I have to adjust myself to even be healthy in my own life, with relationship to other people. And people that have been hurt have that too. And so it's like, you know, when we have full moons like this, we can really reevaluate what it is that we're hearing as the dialogue of what happened there. And in some cases, and I'm really challenging you on this right now, and it's not to be, you know, rude or anything. I will just say, you know, I'm somebody that died. I actually had to die. I had to go through this stuff and then be told that what they did to me was okay, it was my fault, and then they never paid me. And so I've been taking steps to fix things like this. And so I look at these things like this with people, and I know what it is to go through that. And I've had to tell myself a different dialogue about what it was that I was doing and why I stepped into it that way, and why I have certain skills, and why I could be articulate about things like I am here that look very weird, you know, psychic stuff and charts and things. And I'm not an astrologer, you know, I'm a psyop guy that's working out the things where the kinks are and where it doesn't add up. And what I see with a lot of my clients that come to me when people are like, Jacob, you know, help me see this, and here's this address and this person's date of birth, and can you help me figure out why? And some of the things that I keep finding is that it's like somebody took a slide and actually inserted it inside one of these timestamps, and where we can literally see where these things have broken down on like a clock, and where there's literally a clock to your lives, and where it's literally like a dial that can be resynchronized, and where sometimes when we can look at the parts that these different people or events have played in our worlds because of how much nuclear density they had from different elements and things that we'll see, like, you know, one of these charts here, like how much Pluto is in this one specific area of this person's life, and how is it affecting you as a body that landed like that. When we can take a look at things just like that, we can actually take out the enigma, remove the enigma and the mystery of why certain relationships are absolutely karmic, why they absolutely always go a certain way, and what these absolutes are for, and why it's all 12th house matters right now. And so I just want to tell you that whatever is coming up at the time of this full moon, especially if you're feeling humbled or humiliated, or like you're consolidated into something, maybe you found out that something that you thought you owned actually has had more possession over you, or that you had a false sense of security around people and friends and situations around you, where you find out it might have been a little tilted and twisted. Maybe they were like finding some way to feed themselves Christmas by like back-ending you with something that looked like they were contributing to you, but it's really like a real creative sort of bitch slap in an advanced technology way. This is the time where some of us are unplugging from that. And so I will just let you know that's what's in the nuclear halos right now. If you need help with something or would like a personal reading, I'm doing some of the shorter ones right now. I might be offering some of the more forensic style ones with all of the nuclear data later. I just got a little burned out because I had too many to do, but I can do the short response quick ones with the cards and things like this. Feel free to hit me up. PayPal me at paypal.me, Cosmic Midwife, or hit me at Cash App for Jacob Zan right there. $33. They're about 20 minutes, and it's a private video, right? If I don't hear from you, you take care. Just know I love you, and I want you to be aware of what's going on, and I'll catch you again. We're back for another one, because I will be back on tomorrow when we're talking about the full moon and we'll pick up to see what they were trying to get away with, but it won't be anything that you weren't ready for. And protected Halo 8, where we are private and where the dot's one that you chose to create, and the pixel scatter is awesome. Catch you again soon. Bye for now.
Promise that you'll catch me.